So what is Hinduism? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is, well, it's incredibly complex. Today we're going to dive into the beliefs, the stories, and the history of one of the world's most ancient and diverse traditions.
First things first, Hinduism is old, and I mean really old. It's often called the world's oldest living religion, with roots in texts that go back more than 4,000 years. To give you some perspective, these ideas were taking shape way before the Buddha, before the Roman Empire, even before many of the great pyramids of Egypt were built.
But here's the thing, trying to pin it down is tricky. In fact, one writer described the sheer variety within it as groovy madness. And honestly, you can kind of see why. Hinduism is so diverse that what one Hindu believes and practices can be completely different from another's. It's less a single, unified religion and more like a huge family of interconnected spiritual traditions.
So, to make sense of it all, we're going to explore 5 key areas. We'll start with its really unique origins. Then we'll tackle the whole one God or many question. After that, we'll get into the journey of the soul, look at how belief shapes society, and finally, see why it's often called an eternal tradition.
All right, first up, a river of stories. Unlike a lot of other major faiths, you can't point to one single person, like a Jesus or a Muhammad, or one single event that started it all. Hinduism just doesn't have a clear starting point.
And that idea of timelessness is at the very heart of what many followers call their faith, Sanatana Dharma. It basically translates to the eternal tradition. The idea is that these truths have always existed, just flowing continuously through time, kind of like a great river.
You know, this acceptance of multiple perspectives is a really core feature. Take the creation of the universe, for example. Did it all start from a cosmic golden egg, or from a lotus flower growing out of a god's navel? Well, for many Hindus, the answer can be both. These aren't seen as contradictions that need to be solved, but more like different windows looking out onto the same, single, infinite truth.
And that idea of multiple windows or multiple facets of truth leads us right into our second big question. When we talk about God in Hinduism, are we talking about one God or millions of them?
Okay, to get this, we have to start with the foundational concept of Brahman. Now, this isn't a God in the universe. Brahman is the universe. It's the ultimate reality. Think of it like a giant ocean. Everything that exists, you, me, the stars, everything, we're all like individual drops of water. We might look separate for a little while, but fundamentally, we are all part of that same ocean.
Now, it's super important not to get Brahman, that ultimate reality, mixed up with Brahma, the creator god. You can see the difference here. Brahma is a distinct being inside the universe he helps to create, while Brahman is the universe, the very fabric of reality itself. That one little letter makes a world of difference.
Okay, but what about all the other gods? You hear this number thrown around a lot, 33 million. How in the world does that fit in with the idea of one universal soul? I mean, that sounds like a massive contradiction, doesn't it?
Well, not exactly. The common understanding is that all these different deities, like Vishnu the preserver, Shiva the transformer, or Ganesha the remover of obstacles, are all just different expressions, different faces of that one, formless, ultimate reality, Brahman.
So if that's the big picture of the cosmos, what about us, the individuals? This brings us to the journey of the individual soul, or Atman, that one little drop in the cosmic ocean.
The belief is that we are all in a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth called samsara. Your actions in this life, that's your karma, determine what your next life will be like. But the ultimate goal isn't just to get a better rebirth, it's to achieve moksha, which is complete liberation from the cycle, where your individual soul finally merges back into that cosmic ocean, Brahman.
And this is a really different way of looking at things compared to, say, the Christian perspective, which usually focuses on one life, followed by a final judgment that's based on God's grace. In the Hindu view, you get many lifetimes to learn, to grow, and to evolve. And liberation is something you achieve through your own efforts, by clearing away that karmic debt over time.
So how do these huge ideas, karma, rebirth, the divine, actually play out in everyday life? Well, let's take a look at duty and division in society.
The absolutely central concept here is dharma. You can think of it as your duty, your right conduct, your proper role in the grand cosmic order. The idea is that by living according to your dharma, you help maintain balance in the whole universe. It's about doing your part and doing it right.
You can see the ancient roots of these different roles in society in this hymn from the Rig Veda, which is Hinduism's oldest sacred text. It poetically describes society's classes as coming from the different parts of a cosmic being. This became the spiritual foundation for what's known as the Varna system.
But as you can see from this timeline, what started as a kind of functional description of society evolved over thousands of years. Later texts like the Laws of Manu helped turn it into a much more rigid, birth-based hierarchy. Then, much later, during colonial rule, the British actually institutionalized these divisions to make administration easier. And while modern India officially banned discrimination based on caste in its 1950 constitution, the social legacy of this system is, well, it's complex, and it continues to be a topic of debate today.
And that brings us to our final point, why Hinduism is seen as an eternal, living tradition that is always changing and adapting.
You could say Hinduism's greatest strength is its flexibility. Think about it. With no single founder to follow, no single holy book that's considered the final word, and no single mandatory creed you have to believe, it's been able to absorb new ideas, adapt, and evolve for millennia. This quote really gets to the heart of the tradition. It's a faith that prioritizes personal discovery and asking questions way more than it demands dogmatic answers. There's this idea that the deepest truths aren't something you're taught, they're something you remember from within. The journey of questioning is often seen as more important than finding any one final truth.
And that leaves us with one last thought. If Hinduism really is like a river, always flowing and always changing, adapting to new landscapes and new challenges, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What new questions will this ancient tradition ask as it keeps flowing into the future?